Hey guys, it's Chris. This has been really a crazy time in my life. I have been so busy. I'm really sorry I haven't put out content. It's been something I've really missed doing, and I'm kind of doing this video as a proof of life. I'm still alive, but I just have been super busy. It's been December. My Q4 was amazing. I've been working for another Amazon seller. Just everything is going really well, but I've just been so busy I have not had time to sit down and make a YouTube video in forever, and for that I apologize. I actually am starting to work on scripts again for new videos. This video I'm doing without a script. I did about an hour's worth of research and that is it. So this is going to be interesting because I'm going to talk a lot about a subject I don't know a lot about, but I promise that this will be interesting. So I want to talk about two things in this video. One is Warren Buffett, okay? Warren Buffett is, if you don't know who he is, he's often referred to as the Oracle of Omaha. He's this really big-time investor. He's a multi-billionaire. I probably should have looked up how many billions of dollars he has, but it's like hundreds of billions of dollars. One of the richest guys in the world, but also a real humble guy with some idiosyncratic tendencies. Okay, which, if you've ever worked with rich people before, they're all fucking weird. Like, every single one of them. Okay, you find me a normal rich person, and I'll tell you that they're faking. So, anyway, that being said, I want to talk about him, and I want to talk about margin of safety when buying Amazon inventory. And both of these are very heavily related. Warren Buffett is very related to FBA for a couple of reasons, and probably not the obvious ones. So let's start with Warren Buffett, because he is a fascinating guy. I would recommend going and looking up any number of books or YouTube videos that are a biography of Warren Buffett. He's a fascinating character. But one of the things that just bothers me about Warren Buffett, and when people talk about Warren Buffett, is they always talk about like these little quirks he has. So like, he drives an old car. Okay, he like drives like a 15-year-old Cadillac, and he doesn't need a new one. And it's like, people are like, ooh, that's so amazing. And I think he eats McDonald's breakfast every morning. And people are like, ooh, that's so amazing. And I'm like, that doesn't matter. Like, none of that matters. But here's what Warren Buffett does that does matter, okay? Warren Buffett is an expert in what is called value investing, okay? So, a lot of times when we invest in stuff, let's look at Bitcoin. Okay, right now, Bitcoin is going through the roof in value. Okay, I think it's probably going to hit $50,000 in the next month or two, or $5,000 in the next month or two. Warren Buffett would not buy Bitcoin. I'm going to tell you why, because he's a value investor. So, the reason that people are buying Bitcoin right now is because they're looking at where the price is. Let's say, just so this video has relevance, that it is at $20,000 a Bitcoin right now. Great. People are buying it on speculation. They're saying, oh, okay, it's $20,000 right now. I think it's going to be $40,000 later. That's speculation. Well, Warren Buffett doesn't invest that way. Warren Buffett does value investing. And what that means is that he looks for things that are undervalued. Okay? So instead of looking at, I'm going to buy it at this price and it's going to go to this price, so I'm going to buy it at this price and the market will make it go higher. Warren Buffett doesn't do that. He says, oh, I'm going to buy it low and sell it at the market value of this actual item. So where that comes into is like Tesla. He wouldn't be buying Tesla. And I looked it up. He does not really invest in Tesla, and he's kind of said some stuff about Tesla that indicates that he doesn't really like the company. Okay? That being said, he's a big investor in companies like Coca-Cola and McDonald's. Okay? He knows that Coca-Cola and McDonald's are always going to do well. So if there's a little market dip where McDonald's goes down, Warren Buffett would buy it and the market goes back up and he just made money. Boom goes the dynamite. Now, he did that with his company Berkshire Hathaway. He bought up a whole bunch of real estate agencies in New Jersey, because he knew during the market fallout, okay, New Jersey was one of the most hardest hit states in the Union. So realtors were really hurting. He could buy those agencies dirt cheap, and then when the market came back, they're operating at normal volume and normal capacity, he'd make money. That is value investing. Very basic. And you know what, guys? I should probably put a disclaimer in because somebody's going to say something. I am not a stock guy. I do own stocks, obviously, but I'm not like a stock expert. So if I'm wrong, I don't really care. Leave a like, subscribe, and comment how dumb I am about stocks below. I don't really care. That being said, that's what Warren Buffett does. And that's how I buy my Amazon inventory. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, like, well, what the hell? How are these the same? Well, Warren Buffett, when he bought up all of these real estate agencies in New Jersey, he bought them and then he sold them later in a different market. Now, his difference was time, okay? He was buying them in whatever year he bought them, and he still owns them, so he's still making money from them, okay? And he's going to probably eventually sell them. Okay, and by the time he sells them, they've gone up in value because the business is operating at normal capacity. So he bought them undervalued, sold them at value. Great. Well, we can do the same thing with Amazon. Okay, we go to a store like Walmart, and they have, some Lego sets, and they have a sale, so the price is low. We look at where Amazon is, and we say, okay, well, the price is higher on Amazon, and we can sell it that way. Very, very simple to do. I always put on a video game in the background of these videos, just on my screen, and that was really distracting. I probably will edit that out. It was a really annoying ad. So if we do it that way, we are really protecting ourselves, because instead of buying things for the price to go up, which a lot of people do, I don't get this, okay? They buy on speculation and sell on Amazon. Now, don't get me wrong, I do that, but very rarely. Mostly what I'm looking for is some reason that in the market that I'm buying from, okay, so that could be a Walmart toy section, a Target sale, a Walgreens sale, a liquidator, a wholesaler, whatever, the value of it is lower, or the price of it is lower than I can sell it in the market that I want to sell it in. Whether that's Amazon, Walmart, Target, wherever I'm going to be doing my third-party sales at. And that's a very simple concept, and that's very important to look at. Okay, if you are constantly trying to look for undervalued inventory where you are shopping and selling it at market value, you'll do very well. And this is something a lot of people lose their shirt with Q4, because what they do is, you'll have Target selling a Lego set for $20, and for whatever reason, the price on Amazon's $45. Great. Well, we can buy that for $20, sell it for $45, we're going to make some money. But if the price then goes lower on it, we're going to lose money on it, okay? And right now, I'm making this January 5th, okay? There's people that are still going to be looking at the sales and the pricing on Amazon right now, not realizing that they're buying a Lego set for $20 that normally on Amazon is $20. They're going to buy it, and by the time they get in, the market's going to correct itself. See, that's the thing that also people don't realize. The entire business model of arbitrage, okay? Let's talk about what arbitrage is right now. It is basically manipulating inefficiencies in the market to make money, okay? So, let's say, we're spice traders from the 1500s, and we're in India, okay? And India's got a lot of cheap spices, and they're real expensive in England. So what we do is we buy a bunch of spices in India, and we scoot up to England, and we sell them there, because the market pays more for it. And that's arbitrage, basic arbitrage. Well, same is true with, let's say, Legos, okay? We got our $20 set from Walmart, and for whatever reason it's selling for $45 on Amazon, so we're arbitraging it. We can arbitrage time, we can arbitrage property, we can arbitrage literally anything. It is the second oldest profession. Now, that being said, if we are constantly looking at where the market should be, okay, and not following trends, we're going to do much better with our business and have a much safer margin of safety when we're investing, which I'm going to talk about next. I'm alluding to the next section of the video, guys. That's real good. I haven't made a video in a while, but I'm already doing fancy stuff like that. So, if what we do, instead of looking for the $20 thing of Legos from Walmart and selling it for $45, which is great. What if we look for the $20 Lego set at Walmart that's for whatever reason on clearance that day, and we buy it and sell it on Amazon? So it's, it's on clearance for 50% off. We're buying it for 10. We're selling it, we could start it, if we were lucky, it's still 45 on Amazon. But if the market corrects itself and we drop down to, $20 on Amazon, we're breaking even. Okay, and that's not the worst thing in the world, to break even when you sell something. And that's something a lot of people really don't think about. Whenever I buy something that is a speculative purchase, where I'm like, okay, the price on Amazon is crazy expensive right now, I have it in my hand, what am I going to do here? I always ask myself, well, what if the price corrects itself? So if I'm looking at, again, we'll use our Lego set, okay, and it's always, it's normally a $25 set on Amazon, and right now it's $45 because it's the hot set, okay? Well, if I sell the item I paid $20 for $25, I'm gonna lose a little bit of money, okay? But not that much money. So I always look at that. So like, if something was a speculative purchase and the normal price on Amazon was $20, and I'm holding it for $20 right in my hands, I would probably pass on that, simply because I wouldn't want to be stuck with it where I'm selling it and I'm having to lose all my fees and I'm losing like 30-40% plus my time to prep it. So keep that in mind. That's a very important thing to realize and to understand, and I think it will help you be a better Amazon seller. This is the kind of thing that has helped me be more profitable because I've been safer with my buys, okay? I think that I maybe, there's plenty of times when people share these like home run buys that they made where they, they're buying something and Amazon's crazy inflated and all that stuff. And they make good money from it. And I do that. I do that all the time. Okay, don't get me wrong, I do that. But the people that do those speculative buys, they don't tell you about the times that they messed up. Okay? And it's just real important because I'll tell you, when you do those speculative purchases, you will eventually get bit, okay? It will happen. It always will happen. Which brings me to Margin of Safety. So Margin of Safety is a really famous investing book. It was written like 100 years ago. I actually don't know anything about it because one of the reasons it's so famous is it's like $1,000. So if you ever find a copy of Margin of Safety at a Goodwill, people find them all the time. Pick it up. It's like $1,000 and it doesn't look like $1,000 book. I've never found one. I've also never read the book. And the only reason that I'm calling this Margin of Safety is it sounds good and it'll be good in the YouTube title because people search for it all the time and hopefully people watch this video. And what I'm about to describe to you guys is how I like to keep my account and my Amazon selling a little bit safer. So one of the things that I see all the time, especially with beginners, is they have a limited budget, obviously. And they like say, okay, I have $1,000, I'm gonna go out sourcing, and they end up spending like $250 on one SKU, okay? That's a really bad idea, okay? That is very, very dangerous to your business. So what I have done, and I'm gonna share with you guys these numbers, is I have set up parameters that I follow every time I make a purchase. These are very, very easy to do. I do them in my head. Every time I make a purchase, I do these things. And they have kept me from losing a lot of money. And I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of people maybe know this or maybe don't know this, but I used to be a jeweler, okay? I'm a very talented and good jeweler. Should I sit here and say I'm talented? I'm skilled, okay? I'm very good at it. Was very good at making tension set rings and doing all sorts of stuff like that. So I have a very specific style. And I ran my own jewelry company for many years. And I've also done customer service and sales for other companies. And what I'm going to tell you is every time that I got burnt by a customer where, somebody ordered something and, I sold it to them and they demanded a refund, or it got lost in the mail even though it was insured, every time that I had a problem, I didn't follow my rules, okay? I got very, very good at having a set of rules and procedures so that I knew I wasn't going to get burned by a fraudulent sale, all that stuff. And every time I got burned, I didn't follow a rule. So I have very specific rules and systems in place for my FBA business. And when I follow these rules, I don't get burned. And when I don't follow them, I get burned. But I'm dumb, so I don't follow them all the time. But I'm going to share them with you, and hopefully you're smarter than me, and you follow these rules and tweak them to your own benefit. So the thing that I look at, and this is based off of a conversation I had with a really big FBA seller named Sam Cohen. Maybe you know Sam Cohen, maybe you don't. If you don't, he's a really nice guy. He's a really cool dude. Very interesting guy to talk to, and he's a big seller. I think he's like a $10 million plus seller a year, so it's an eight-figure seller. I don't really know, but I had a moment where I talked to him at a conference years ago, like probably 5 years ago, and he said something to me that I didn't quite get at the time, and now I get, and I implement his strategies. So what he said was, I never spend 2% of my capital budget, or more than 2% of my capital budget, on any one item. That's it. Now, it's such an easy thing to say, but what does that mean? So, we're going to use that Sam Cohen has $100,000 sourcing budget. Now, he has a bigger one than that, I'm sure. So, Sam, I'm sorry if I'm insulting your sourcing budget by using $100,000. But that means that Sam would not spend more than $2,000 on any one item. Now, when he's referring to one item, he's not referring to a single item. He's referring to a single SKU or a single ASIN, okay? Most likely a single SKU. So, for instance, he might spend $4,000 on something if it was, he could sell it as a 2-pack and a 3-pack. He might do $4,000. And you're going to have to tweak these rules. So I'm just using his example, and then I'm going to explain how I use that in the parameters and systems I have. You're going to have to figure this out yourself. But again, I'm just sharing what I'm doing. Now, why he does that is if he messes up and he gets burnt on 2% of his total budget, he's not going to cry about it, okay? Now, if he spent 50% of his total budget, or brace yourself, guys, 100% of his total budget, and it flops, he's boned. And so are you, okay? I see so many people, they get into this business and they're like, okay, I have $1,000. Let me open a wholesale account and buy one item. And I'm like, whoa. I too like to live dangerously, but not that dangerously. So let's talk about this and how I use this. Let's use some real world examples here. Every month, personally, for my business, I try to spend $30,000 to $50,000 a month on inventory. That gets my sales right where I want them to be. It's not too much that it's hard to handle. It's just the right amount for me. Now, if my sourcing budget is $50,000, and I'm going to use $50,000 here because it's easy to divide into percentages, okay? But what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to adjust this. If you spend $5,000 a month, just change my numbers accordingly. If you spend, $1,000 a month, fine. Just change them accordingly. And you're going to have to see, what your risk tolerance is. And, I've been doing this a long time. I think I'm really good at this. And the fact that I'm telling you that I have built in risk and built in how to protect myself from risk into my business should tell you something if you have never considered this. So, let's get into real talk here. If I'm at a store and I see an item that I want to purchase and I would have to spend less than $1,000 to buy what I want, I pretty much don't blink an eye at it, okay? Now, that is the 2%. $1,000 is about 2% of my monthly sourcing budget. So, if I pick up an item, I scan it with the seller app. I always scan it with the seller app because I right away want to know restrictions. Then, I want to look at it with Keepa, and if it looks good on Keepa, it looks good on Seller Central, and I know that I'm going to be able to sell it, I buy it, don't even think about it. $500 to $1,000, don't even think about it. Now, at $1,000, that's when things get different. And these are the actual parameters and values that I really actually use. Over $1,000 to about $2,000, so 2 to 4% of my sourcing budget, okay? I take the item, I put it in my cart, and I do the rest of my sourcing and then think about it again. Okay? So if I'm looking at something, there's something on the shelf, I'm at a grocery store and they have a whole bunch of stuff. I literally just did this a few days ago with a bunch of protein powder. I bought almost $2,000 worth of a protein powder from a store. Now, what I did was I took the protein powder, I analyzed it, I found it to be a good buy, and then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to want to buy about $2,000 worth. So I took one of them, I put them in my cart, I walked all the way around the store, and then I came back and I looked at it again. That's it. Okay? So I analyzed it twice. Okay? Again, twice the odds that I will miss something, or catch something that I would have missed otherwise. Okay? So that's very important. Again, scan with Seller Central. Make sure that the brand is good. Make sure everything is good with it. The listing's good, all that stuff. Make sure the weights are right. Make sure the expiration is right. Check Keepa. Make sure it sells. Make sure it's got good reviews. All that stuff. I do it twice. And that's what I have to do for myself to spend up to about $2,000. Okay? And every bad buy I've ever made, I didn't do that. And I should do it all the time, because when I don't do it, I mess up. Okay? Now, from about $2,000 to $5,000, I will go that deep. And that's about 10% of my monthly budget. But, on wholesale stuff, I will do that pretty frequently. This is more geared a little bit towards retail arbitrage, okay? And stuff that's more one-off. Or maybe liquidation, because I do a good amount with liquidation. Which, by the way, you can do on Amazon, but you got to know what you're doing. You got to make sure you're getting good invoices and stuff like that. Maybe I'll do videos talking about that, but this isn't the place for it. So from about $2,000 to $5,000, I get a second opinion. Okay? So I don't always go to the same person. Okay? It's very common, like Nicole. I'll reach out to Nicole and I'll send her the screenshots and be like, hey, what do you think about this? So typically I'll send her the Seller Central screenshot. I will send her the Keepa chart, the ASIN, so that she can just look at it, and my buy cost. And I'll say, hey, what do you think about this? And there's been plenty of times I've bugged her, I've bugged Martin Culler, I bugged Brandon Trainer. I have a group of people that I bug sometimes with these questions. And they also can bounce things off of me and get my opinion. And that's another really important thing. It's great to have a little circle. And there's been quite a few times where I've sent something out, I've done my, put it in the cart, walk around, send it to somebody, get their opinion, and they find something that I would miss, okay? And that's really helped me. I will tell you guys, the most that I have ever spent on one ASIN was $22,000, okay? So, that was a while ago. It was 3D printers, and it was, it was definitely a, It was tough because I didn't really have $22,000 to lose, okay? But that being said, if you are taking steps like this and you're doing these percentages and stuff, you're not going to lose your shirt on any one item. That's one of the things I see mistakes made, and rookies make these mistakes where they make bad buys and they're like, well, I spent half my money on a bad item, and they don't even know it was bad, okay? So I think that you really ought to set a system like this. Now, I told you guys what my numbers are. You need to decide what your numbers are and who you're going to reach out to. And let me tell you right now, don't reach out to me. I probably don't want you to reach out to me. I definitely don't want you to reach out to me. Okay, now find somebody that's your skill level or a little bit more advanced than you, or maybe does something a little bit differently. That's what works so well with me and Nicole. Is now Nicole sells a lot more grocery than she used to, but for a long time she wasn't really as heavy into grocery as she is now. So, and I am pretty heavy into grocery. So you can tell I look like I am pretty heavy into grocery. So the thing is that with that, it was good to get her secondary perspective on that sometimes, because she just saw things a little bit differently because I'm doing grocery. So that was really, really nice. And, maybe if you have a business partner or your spouse, that could be a good thing where, your spouse looks at it and gives you an opinion, or you have a friend that you found in a Facebook group, whatever works for you. Okay, so let's recap here. okay? Because a lot of stuff was talked about in this video. So number one, value investing, or as I will call it for this, value buying, okay? We want to look for items that are not speculative purchases. So we're in markets and we're buying them where they are cheaper than they should be based on Amazon sales. So a really good example is, you know, Amazon is consistently like $25 on something. We're at Target, they have it on clearance, we buy it, we sell it. Or we find it from a retailer or a wholesaler that's cheap, okay? You know, I've talked a lot about clearance because it's just a good example in this video, but this doesn't just apply to clearance, okay? So that would be value buying or the value investing principles used for Amazon, okay? The next thing is having a margin of safety. So we have an amount of money that we will spend with no hesitation. We won't even blink at it. You know, if you're doing, you know, $5,000 a month in purchasing, you know, that might be, you know, $200 or whatever that amount may be. Okay, so we have that amount. Then we have an amount where we double check it after we walk away. Guys, that's really important. Don't miss the step of walking away, okay? And I've been to stores where I found this item, the item that I'm gonna be like, oh man, maybe I need to buy that, and it was the last thing. So what I did was I bought everything else, checked out, came back in the store and bought that separately. So don't hesitate to do that if it's like, oh, it's on the last aisle, I'm only gonna have a couple minutes. I really try to give myself about 15 minutes to just really clear my head, make sure I'm not just, you know, seeing dollar signs and missing something that could be a really bad purchase. Then we have another amount where maybe we consult with somebody else. Another thing that I have done in the past, especially with large purchases, is literally sleep on it. Okay, there have been times where I have made, you know, the initial scan, I've double checked it, I've gotten a second opinion, and then I was just like, you know, I've talked to the manager and been like, you know what, I just want to think about this and come back the next day, okay? Especially in store. You know, in my area, there's not a ton of resellers, so, you know, I might miss a few units that way, or maybe even I come home and look at it on the computer, okay? Maybe I'm no more, I don't feel that I do better on the computer than I do in the app. I feel I'm equally good at both. But you know what, if you're somebody that does better on the computer, maybe that's a thing. Okay, you need to think of these systems and set what works for you. This is what works for me, but what works for you might be a little bit different, and you're going to have to figure that out yourself. Now, if you have any questions or any ideas for like ways to increase the margin of safety when you're buying stuff, why don't you leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That really helps the channel. And I promise I will be back. I'm going to be seeing Nicole real shortly, and I've actually written out some scripts for her and me to do some videos together and really talk about some stuff with Amazon, because I really like doing these videos, guys. Anyway, have a good night. I hope you make a lot of money. Make me proud. Good night.